let's level up.
Level up. Community, friends, family. Level up. Your finance, your friends, and your mindset. Level up. Your health, vision, and knowledge. Level up.
Your life. Level up with Shari Wilson.
Well, we wanted to talk about like the gratitude and and the celebrating your small victories and how that's important, in achieving your vision. Right?
How it even came to the sit down because this wasn't the plan.
Yeah, this kind of just
called
happened.
you like a month ago and say we're gonna come out after the 4th, and you were busy and but I think the conversations that we had when you came home yesterday at breakfast brunch, kind of culminated to this sit down here. To really want to have it, put it on film because we've just been batting back nuggets and information and stuff. I think it was just important for us to kind of capture, especially 21 year,
22 years of friendship.
Year friendship. We're finally both at this part where we're reaching a certain pinnacle of evolution in our lives, and I think this is really important for us to now start to document it because the next year, 2 years are probably just going to be phenomenal. And I'm really speaking to you too, especially you building what you've built for so long now, taking that next leap, you starting your next venture.
Then you inspiring me. I mean, even though we don't live in the same city, just the beauty of social media and being able to watch your growth, digitally and then checking in on you every now and again, it's just been phenomenal to see the ebb and flow of your success, right? You talk about all the valleys and all the peaks and things like that. And you just, as I'm watching, you renovate your home and you buying another home and I'm watching, it's just, how can you not be inspired by any of it, And you, whether you know it or not, whether I tell you often enough, is that you really do play a huge impact in my life, and just inspiring me and pushing me from afar, to do better, to strive for more, to just keep at it, even when it feels impossible. We've had some, really good conversation. When Brian and I went through we just touched on that, when we went through our craziness and losing our jobs and losing everything and our home, our cars and the repo and all of that. And, you said that one thing that, you're like, this is clearing, making room for something else.
That you think he's taken away from you, he's going to give it back 10 times.
Yeah.
And he is.
And that stuck with me. That really, it was that shift that I needed, right? In my mind to get my mind right. Okay, what is the next thing I'm supposed to be doing? What is the next chapter? How do I figure that out?
And it really helps you be fearless. When you're attached to that employee title and it's your only means, it's your only motivation, there's a lot of fear there, because you don't control your own destiny. And I think here and now in 2019, you're seeing it now, the new conversation, and it's spreading, you know what I mean? And it's a good spread, it's a good virus, right? Everyone from 15, 16-year-olds to 40-year-olds are now, there's a rebirth of consciousness. And I think it's so important. I learned, speaking to kids, wow, you're really that, and it checks me. Man, well, if you're at 14, 15 talking about, man, I need 2-3 streams of income. And I'm sitting here like, well, I'm just collecting a paycheck. I need to reevaluate my life because this kid is going to surpass me in a couple of years. You know what I mean? And it's you want to be a part of it. And I always tell Seek, just as an example, a lot of us have watched the tech industry kind of grow, right? It came, we watched cell phones. We went from beepers to everything, and we didn't participate. Whole communities, cultures.
We consumed it.
We consumed it.
We didn't invest in it.
Yeah, we helped a lot of people become filthy rich, create new revenue streams, and really change the world. But we didn't participate. Nothing other than just being consumers. We've gotten that assembly line and we stayed there for far too long. And I've witnessed my parents go through it, the assembly line to the end. I was in that stream, in my line. I put my black suit on and I got right in line with everything else, and I was going and follow suit. And now you have this new conversation where it's like, break the chains, right? A new sense of freedom, a new sense of fearlessness. No need to be locked into that job. Yeah, get your paycheck, but always be thinking of that next thing. If you're a painter, always be working towards how can I paint? How can I create? If you want to do music, do music. You know, if you want to dance on the street. Do whatever you want. Post it. Do it, because you never know what's going to be your success.
Yeah,
and
be the best at it.
Yeah,
you know,
that is just a phenomenal thing with the human being, and this is just the early stages.
Yeah, and we have the platforms for it. You know, the smartphone is probably the most powerful device ever created for us to be able to go from, you know, someone in some small town put up a video, and you know, it can change their life depending on, you know, the trajectory of that journey. You know,
the best investment right now is those that are thinking towards the future.
And figuring out your passion too.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking about that yesterday, that when you figure out your passion and your intention is on the right path, then everything else will rise to that decision. And a lot of times we're doing things that we're not passionate about. You know, or we're doing things just because we think we can make money over here. And when the two don't balance out, we're just running around in circles, and you're not really going anywhere. You know? And
especially because people are like searching for, you know, when you talk about happiness, what makes you happy, those things aligned together is true happiness. When you take your passion and you have a purpose and you have good intentions and all of that collides together, like you said, everything else will rise to the occasion, and whatever you believe in, the universe, God, you know, will conspire and make those things happen for you. But it starts with passion and purpose. To me,
it does. So we talked about so many things yesterday. A lot. And I want to kind of touch on a few of them. First of all, this is Seek Smith, and this is Brian Smith. They are married. Seek has been my friend for years. Actually, they was together when we met. So she was pregnant. I think he was pregnant. You just got pregnant.
I just got pregnant. So 22 years ago.
Yeah, we was working at the bank. And so I've been knowing you guys the same amount of time. And so it's funny because one of my friends was texting me, and I said, oh, my best friend Seek and her husband's here. I said, no. My best friend Seek and my best friend Brian is here from LA. And that's truly how it is. You know, I have my relationship with you. You know, when y'all was going through things, you talked to me. When y'all was going through things, you talked to me. So I honestly feel we probably talk more, but when we talk, it's like we talk just as much. So these are my friends from Los Angeles, and they came up out the blue like a couple of weeks ago. Seek said she wanted to come up and visit. And I'm just happy that you guys are here. And ever since I came home on Friday, we've just been talking about deep information, like just deep stuff. And one of the things that you talked about was self-mastery. Like we have to learn how to master ourselves. We have to learn how to be great leaders. And I think that's something that we all need. I don't care if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. Even if you work for someone, if you're in management, you have to learn that. And I know that's something that I personally struggle with. Is that like I feel like I got it, and then as soon as I feel like I'm there and I'm good, then something happened where it just keep ticking until I just go off, you know. And one of the things you said was you have to be able to not show your next move. Or they say what you said.
It's just all strategic. Never show your cards. One, you know, to the people that you're leading, right? If there's a storm ahead, you want to show them a sign of confidence, right? If you're worried, they're worried. They're following you. They're taking your lead, and you are a reflection of the people that come around you. You know, if you're, you know, just for example, if you're late, you're inconsistent, you have a bad attitude, those are the type of people that are going to come to your employment, right? Those are the type of people going to be around you. You're going to turn around and say, why do I got all of these terrible people working for me? Well, you have to look at, the first thing you do is look in a mirror. So understanding your faults is key. You'll never be perfect, But the perfection in the process is that you understand that you're not perfect, and you'll continuously work to become better, right? Every day, I'm better Tuesday than I was Monday. I'm better Wednesday than I was Tuesday. Just keep grinding at it, and they're just small little balancing beam acts, right? Until you get to a point where you look back and you're like, wow, all of that struggle, I'm here. Yeah, I still may lose it a little bit, but now I go in the closet and I scream a little bit, shake it off, and then I walk out strong, right? Those are just the little intangibles of just leadership qualities that take time to sort of build. I would say don't kick yourself for that, but you understand it. You've just admitted it right now. Like, yeah, there's things in leadership that I'm still trying to work on. Good, right? It's hard to be perfect because everything else is still changing. If you were to say, well, this is where I'm going to plant my flag, I'm never going to move, then you're not a good leader in that aspect either, right? So, but showing your cards, I mean, it's a fascinating growing tool to not show your cards, not be in letting everybody see who you are or how they can beat you, and then it's strategic, right? It's sort of military, it's gameplay. It's NBA, it's NFL, it's sports. Sports are always a great analogy because someone is always strategizing, right? We see the ball being thrown and the guy catching it and scoring the touchdown. But when you look back at all of it, it was all by design. It was all intentional, right? I know where this defensive player is going to be. I know which play they're going to call. I know what position they're going to be in. So when I make my move, I know I'll have success, right? And that's how sports is always. So in leadership, and in growth, you take that same kind of tactic, right? You walk into a boardroom, you're talking about zeros, right? And commas. You're like, you know what? I got to make sure that I come out on the perfect end. What was the lady that said that somebody offered her a job or promotion? Remember? And she said they offered her an envelope. She never opened it, even if it was more than what she requested. Who was that? It was a great. She said it was the Judge Judy. Judge Judy, it's fantastic. It's a great. You watch her speak. She talks about a promotion that she went into her. She was negotiating her new contract, and she wrote down on the table, "This is what I want. This is what I want. I'm not taking anything less." And so the counter offer was they put in the envelope. She said, "I didn't even open it, even if it was more."
She wasn't gonna.
I wasn't budging. Right. I stood my ground. I drew my line. Right. And she said, even if I opened that envelope and it was $1 million more than what I asked for, it didn't matter. I stuck to my guns. This is what I wanted. And now, you see where she's at right now. One of the richest women on television, highest paid, and all this stuff. So those are just great leadership qualities that you just constantly have to work on, especially as your environment changes, as your, empire starts to grow, right? As you start to diversify all of the things you want to do, things are going to change. You're going to start dealing with different people, different mentalities, different strategic skills than you, right? They may have been playing this game longer than you, right? You just need to listen, learn, strategize, So, I find it fascinating, right?
Yeah. I know I talked about this at my school that even in games, like I could be playing a certain game. I find myself looking around. I feel like you always have to be teachable.
Yeah.
You always have to be teachable. No one is perfect in anything, especially if you start, like what I do know is I know how to start a business. Yeah. I know how I have a vision for it. If I know how to make money, like my auntie taught me a long time ago. Yeah. Never think you're too good to get out there and scrub somebody's toilet or to clean somebody's floors. Like if you got to make money, you got to do whatever you got to do to make that money. Yeah. So I know that, but being raised in a household where my mom was a screamer and, I was teased about different things. Those things you end up having follow you as an adult. So when anything like that triggers, it's like that little girl rise back up and want to defend, And so you got to learn how to control all those little things that follows you as an adult, So those are some of the things that I know I struggle with. I'm a yeller, I'm a screamer. What are you guys doing? Stop doing that. Stop doing that. I could call my employee. She'd be like, "Oh my gosh, sorry, I thought something was wrong." I was like, "No, but why are you not here?" It's like, it was just my tone, So I know that's something that I'm working with.
Mhm.
And one of the things that you said yesterday was you can't always, what you said, something about not showing your emotions or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you sent me a video and I went back and I was just, I listened to it before I went to bed, and with so many good nuggets in that that I took away. And I'm like, okay, and each day I don't do that.
Yeah.
Is a day that I was successful.
Yeah.
And that's how we got talking about celebrating your small victories, right?
Yes.
And how important it is to not be so hard on yourself, because it's easy to judge yourself, and we're our biggest critics in anything that we do. As much as people might criticize you or have an opinion about the things you're doing, at the end of the day, really our own criticism of ourselves is what limits us, right? And so when you talk about celebrating your small victories, that you can go this day, next day, you're 4 or 5 days in and you're like, okay, I didn't do that. So that's a victory. So having those small celebration also gives you momentum and also gives you the ability to push forward, right?
And live in the moment.
Yes.
With gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because also what I find in that is, when you take the moment and say, I did great today.
Yeah.
It kind of help you push you to the next day to make sure you do great again.
Yeah.
And when you take the time to be in the moment to acknowledge that, it takes you so far.
Yeah.
One of the things the guy said is, like somebody who graduated from college, they didn't reach that quote unquote success when they graduated. They just got acknowledged for all the hard work they've been doing from year 1 to year 2 to year 3.
Exam.
They got acknowledged at that graduation.
Yeah.
But they was being successful
The whole time.
the whole time.
Yeah.
And so for us to acknowledge that daily,
And it's
important.
Because the gratitude part, I was reading that when you're in gratitude and when you're in the feeling of gratefulness, no other feeling can occupy your space, your headspace.
Yeah.
So when you're grateful, you can't be angry at the same time. When you're grateful, you can't be sad at the same time. When you're so grateful is such a dominant feeling that no other feeling can come into play. And then scientifically, it creates a dopamine that is necessary to help you gain the momentum, right? So dopamine is your feel good, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's the thing that triggers drug addicts. Right?
Yeah. So with drug addicts, they need that dopamine that's why they're
Yeah.
addicted to so when you're grateful, you're actually releasing dopamine that allows you to be addicted to that feeling. Right. And so that's where you get the momentum and you can keep moving forward. So when you talk about like self-motivation and people are needing to like grasp, watch a video to motivate themselves or talk to somebody, whatever, you can actually create your own, motivation by being grateful consistently and obsessively and every day. Like you said, take a moment, live in the moment, appreciate where you're at, appreciate how far you've come along. And doing those things.
Because I use this house for example. I never would really take the moment to look around and say, wow, okay, my kitchen is done. Let me just sit here in gratitude. Or, wow, my front yard is done. Let me just sit here. It's always, okay, I just finished this. Let me go to the next. I just finished that. Let me go to the next. And it's always going to be something you're working towards. But when are you ever going to sit and be like, appreciate wow. Okay, it's not finished, but I did a damn good job. Thank you.
You said it. You shared a moment that you had with yourself when you finally decided to jump in your pool and look around. You know what I mean? That's go ahead. I want you to share that.
No, I was saying that the other day. Something just told me to get in the pool, and I just jumped in the pool. I usually don't get in the pool. So I got in the pool and I was out there by myself, and I literally just like went around in a circle, and I heard the presence of God just look at it. Just look. And when I did that, it was just like, I just started crying because at that moment I was so grateful. It was so much gratitude where it was just like, thank you, God. Like everything that I thought it was going to be, it is. And at that moment, I think that's the first time that I really sat there and was like, wow, just felt appreciated. And
was all the vision,
I was
right?
appreciating everything that God said that He was going to do for me.
Yeah.
He did it.
Yeah.
You know,
And you were trusting in the process,
Mhm.
right? We touched on a lot about that, right?
Yeah.
It's like a lot of times we'll have a vision and we'll lay out a certain way of attaining that vision, right? So I always tell my team, I always say, don't be married to the process. Yes, you can set your goals, you can set the things that you want to achieve, but what you have to do is kind of set that vision and let go and let it happen the way it's supposed to happen, and not feeling like you have to be in control of every step of the way how it should happen. Because it's not going to come to you in a pretty bow. Sometimes crazy stuff happen, things get taken away and things break down, and you have a breakdown in order to get that breakthrough.
Someone I posted a video on Instagram, and I had a comment on there, and a girl said, I can't stop. She said, you're supposed to have a vision, believe it, and let it go and stop thinking about it. And I said, no, you can think about it every day. You just can't control. Don't try to be in control of the process. You could dream it, vision it, and then release it. And releasing it does not mean that you can't think about it. Releasing is just saying, I'm going to allow the process to happen, and I'm not going to try to control it. But I believe that the vision that I have is going to be what it is at the end. I don't know how the process is going to work, but I believe that what I have in mind is going to be that or 10 times better. That's it. Not to be trying to control. Like, we can't control how things happen. That's the thing. That's the thing that God wants us to let go. Let me do this. Let me do it.
Trust it.
And I think
Just trust.
you're an individual who put a lot on your shoulders, right? You'll be at everyone's rescue at the drop of a dime. You know what I mean? You'll be anywhere in the world if you need to be. And then you have your own that you've created. At a certain point, you're gonna have to say, okay, where is my happiness gonna come from, right? Because you're never gonna stop running, right? You'll never stop building a house and making it beautiful. You'll never stop creating, right? There is no end for you. That's almost a fact that there is no end. You know what I mean? If, God willing, you live to 100 and something. On your 101st day, you're still going to be either serving someone or creating something that serves someone. That's who you are. So you have to find at some point how you're going to make your juice in the morning, right? How you're going to just take time. If it's an hour, 30 minutes, you have to. Where are you going to be selfish just to yourself? Everything else goes away. You actually had a moment with yourself in that pool that you weren't even prepared for, and the emotions just hit you like a ton of bricks. But that's something that you know what I mean. You were keeping that enjoyment from yourself. You don't need to, but for some reason you feel like if I stop running, something's gonna fall apart. If I don't run today, this wall ain't gonna stay standing. If I don't run today, this person ain't gonna pay their bills. If I don't run today, something's gonna happen. It's almost like what's the people that have OCD? You know what I mean, with how you're creating your life and building. But you have to understand, you building on top of the life that you have is going to be a constant. But you can't get to the point where you forget who you are, and then you get to 50 years old, 60, 70-year-old, and you're looking back and you don't recognize yourself because you've built all of this, and you're like, where did my happy? Who took care of me? Who made me happy? Where's my moments? You're gonna look back and you're gonna see photos and stuff. And you're like, but where was my moment at? And it shouldn't just be on your birthday. You know what I mean? There's a lot you should celebrate. A lot.
You're right.
That you should be celebrating
all the time.
When did you first open your first salon? What year?
Out here, it was 2010. And
2000.
LA, I think it was like 2008.
2010 was almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
Think about that.
Do you understand
We're
that?
in 2019. You opened your first salon here in Elbrook. Almost. 2010. Oh, 10 years ago. I'm sorry. But then in LA, you did that before you got there.
Yeah, we had the little boutique in Inglewood.
Right behind the Shell station.
Right behind the
Yeah.
Shell
The
station.
one wash station.
Yeah.
Crenshaw and Manchester.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
come a long way, right? And you've created livelihoods for people. You've inspired people.
A lot of people.
You've rescued people. You've done a lot. And for some, you could stop right here. You could stop right here. The gates of heaven are already open for you. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? So everything else that you're doing now is because this is what motivates you. Right? But you've done
Your why is so strong.
you've already created a life that most will not even be able to imagine. Or maybe they only imagine it. And you've done it at such a young age. So I just want you to be able to grasp that concept of it. And then I think, just reverting back to sort of the leadership and your emotions and how you control your emotions, it's going to start there. It's going to start really about you just recognizing who you are, what you're capable of, right? Being so confident. You don't have to argue with anybody. What do you got to scream for? You know what I mean?
Clean up the house.
Right. If why would you, who's going to tell you something, who's going to dictate to you how you should feel? Like you bring all of what you created with you every time you walk into a room.
Yeah.
All of your accomplishments come right with you. And maybe they may not see it, but you know it. And the more confident you are in knowing that aura is going to shine. And when you walk in, the light, people are going to see it and be like, that's somebody you got to meet. That's somebody I need to talk to. That's somebody I need to respect.
I always say that when you walk through the room, you should be having the glow of the spirit, the glow of God just following you.
Yeah.
Got, people look up and like, it's something
Who's
about
that?
her. It's something
Who's
about
that?
him.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's the leadership quality.
That's the leadership quality.
And that also goes back to when you said, you know who you are. I think a lot of times people, women, men, myself, you attach those labels to you.
Yeah.
So you know that you're A, B, and C. You know that you're full of greatness, but you will always carry that you're controlling or you're a bitch or you're... it's so many different labels that people can throw at you. And you start believing those things, or you're not what you think you are, or you're not all that, or you're a messed up individual, or people don't like you because or you're crazy. And those labels attach themselves to you. Unconsciously. Unconsciously. It's in your subconscious mind. It's like how do we detach? How do we detach those labels? How do we say, yeah, I probably said this or I probably did that, but that's not who I am. How? And what I love is that you guys are doing this UnleaSHE campaign where people put these different labels on them. And then the negative labels are wiped out. And then only the positive labels are.
Because at the end of the day, despite the labels that's been prescribed to growing up. I mean, when we work on this campaign, people even go as far back as when they were children, 5, 6, as their earliest memories of some of these labels. What the campaign talks about is unleashing you, right? Who do you want to unleash? And the way to unleash is to let go of these labels that's been, given to you sometimes by yourself. You feel like you're not good enough, or you feel like, like you said, crazy, or we get the words abandoned a lot. We get the words not good enough. But what the campaign talks about is at the end of the day, you get to define who you are. That's a choice that you get to make. You don't have to keep those labels that someone else gave you, because you get to write the narrative of your own story. For so long, we let other people dictate who we're supposed to be. Society, our parents. We're trying to make everybody else happy, but you got to listen to your own voice and say, well, who am I truly? And what are the gifts that I have that I can unleash into the world? So really the campaign is about letting go of those labels, stepping into your power and becoming the person that you are meant to be in this world, the gift that you're supposed to be giving to the world. People need to tap into that. And when you release that into the world, that's where all the greatness comes in. That's when we're creators and we're doing all these amazing things, is when you can really, like you said, release and let go and not be attached to these labels.
Well, how do you really release it? Like, you know, I know people who go to seminars.
Yeah.
They read motivational books. They watch seminars. They
pay
do
thousands
all
of dollars for
and
these
then
things. Yeah.
they get pumped up and they walk out feeling worthy. But then another week go by and they feeling like they go from to
because they don't know how to apply the tools, right? It's you've watched a YouTube channel on how to fix a carburetor, and then you watch it, you turn it off, and you're like, all right, I think I got to understand it. And you take your toolbox out to a carburetor, and you're like, wait a minute, I don't think I don't know what happened, right? I know I watched it, I know I was there, I heard everything, but I still can't accomplish it. What am I missing? You don't know how to use the tools, right? And it's
so how do they use the tools?
It's a process.
Yeah.
You have to learn and practice. You have to learn and practice the tools of understanding yourself, and that's where a lot of the mantras and meditation, all of those things are the little tools to help you center yourself so you can focus. Looking back at your day, writing in a journal, those are little just tools.
Gratitude in the moment,
right, to help.
But
you
also,
understand the big picture.
I like you using the carburetor analogy because you'll watch and you're like, okay, I got it, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, you don't know it all. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so people get so hung up trying to figure out how to do everything that it freezes them, and they're not able to execute because they're trying to figure everything out.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You have to trust the process. And I always, I tell my team, like, when an opportunity comes, you take it. Even if you feel like you don't know anything about it, you take it and you're going to figure it out along the way. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to apply one way. It might not work. You pivot, you correct, you do, you change it up, you go a different route or whatever. But you don't, when you say no to an opportunity, and you're just standing still, you're stagnant. So that's where I think being able to jump, and even in fear, I'm not saying that you should do something and not be scared to do it. I do lots of stuff that I'm terrified to do half the times, but I do it. And then I figure it out along the way. You know what I mean?
Well, what about those who's struggling with self-esteem? Like having labels on them.
Yeah.
And they get pumped up and they feel good and great about themselves, and then they go right back into their environment that they came from prior to
not nurturing.
Yeah, and then they're right back feeling that way.
Yeah.
And I know one of the things you said to me yesterday was, and I can see how that can apply to self-esteem and everything else, is taking a moment one day at a time. Focus on today, not tomorrow, not what happened yesterday, but focus on today and know that I did a great job today.
Yeah.
That's where you're building
I
confidence.
feel good today. I looked in the mirror. I told myself that I love you. I told myself that she was beautiful. I told myself that, I'm proud of you. You came far, and you didn't do A, B, and C today. So now you go to sleep with gratitude. You wake up and say, what, I'm about to do it again today. Yeah. Taking the moment, maybe. Taking the moment daily. To recognize.
It's a combination of all those things, right? We talked about the combination of acknowledging, right, and recognizing, like, you talk about you recognizing some of your flaws, and you continue to work on that day. You said the one day that I'm not yelling, and the next day I'm not yelling at somebody. I'm celebrating those wins. So learning to celebrate the small victories, learning to stay in gratitude, and then, like you said, focusing on the day to day, because we're so hard on ourselves. We're like, well, I didn't do this today, and you start judging yourself on a day to day. You can't. Because on the day-to-day, you're not really moving the needle that far. But just know that one email you're sending out, that one connection you're making, that one task that you checked off the list, those things
add up.
Cumulatively, together over a period of time. Like we did this recently. We, with my business partner and I, when we launched our campaign a little over 6 months ago, we had no idea what the journey was gonna look like, and nor were we trying to predict the journey or predict the outcome of it. We launched the campaign, and then we just kept, working day to day, doing things as opportunities were presenting itself, as we were meeting people, and so on and so forth. Then 6 months later, we actually took a moment to reflect on what has happened in 6 months. And we went from launching a campaign with 40 people with now like almost 200 people part of the campaign, and it going to 18 cities around the world. Being able to sit down and reflect on something that happened within 6 months, in the day-to-day, it didn't look like we were doing anything. It didn't feel like we were moving the needle. It was like, okay, so I sent an email out. Well, okay, I did this. Well, okay, you know, you're a little hard on yourself on the day-to-day. You can't do that. You have to judge yourself in like longer periods, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. Look at it that way. But if you're looking at yourself, what you did in a week, forget it. You're never going to be happy with what you've done in a week, but you can be really, really proud of yourself in what you've done in 6 months.
Yeah, even reverting back a little bit to like the seminars and stuff that people go to, and why are they unable to sustain that level of energy long term? It's sort of that same thing. It's just like, you know, they don't understand where their strengths are. They don't understand that, you know, hey, I got to take this day by day. You know, I got to cross one day, good day off, bad day, good day, bad day. You know, and eventually you keep practicing, there'll be more good days. But, you know, I think it's just sort of it's prevalent in our society now where there's so many cameras, so many ways to, you know what I mean? And you're just like, wow, I feel so irrelevant, right? So a lot of times you go to these seminars to just find some type of relevancy in the world. Like, where do I fit in? You know, I'm in a stadium. I'm in a stadium of people watching. I paid thousands of dollars. I'm watching a millionaire tell me about how to be successful. I need to eat this up. You know, and industries have built upon people having these disconnects in their life. You know, there's entire industries that are now built because of it. So how do you walk away and then become a better you? How do you become a leadership? How do you have proper self-esteem? How do you know what I mean? All of those things can come into play, and it will kill your momentum. It will kill your business. It will kill anything that you've created. So how do we address that? Constantly keep talking. Constantly making videos like this, having campaigns, you creating opportunities, doing podcasts. We have to keep doing our part as those who are taking that leadership title and running with it. You have a responsibility. You know, we discuss people that consider themselves coaches all the time. And I say, wow, that's a very powerful word to consider yourself a coach when you understand what a coach really does, right? And what you take on. A lot of these people are amateur therapists at best, right? And you're trying to give a cookie cutter response or answer, but the play is different. Again, you're just using sports as an analogy. You can't keep running the same play for every down and expect the same and try to get the same result. You won't. You have to be able to navigate and change
and strategize,
right? And listen. Right?
And
a lot of
I think
people
that's
now
key.
are talking.
And I've been hearing that. Like, just listen.
Just listen.
When you listen, you can see and hear everything. You can when you listen, you can hear somebody play.
Yeah.
You know exactly what they're going to do, what they're going to say.
It's interesting when I go and sit in a one-on-one meeting with somebody who wants to collaborate with us, somebody who wants to work with us, somebody who wants to be a part of our, you know, whatever way they're approaching the meeting, I will let them tell their story first. So I want to do the list. I go into a meeting wanting to listen first. I'm learning that. It wasn't always that way. I would just want to talk and tell people what I'm doing and all this other stuff. Then I realized the strategy and your effectiveness is when you're sitting there listening to the other person's story. And then once they finish telling your story, you can share your story in ways that can connect to them and their experience because you've listened. So I go into a meeting when I'm able to listen to their entire story and how they are presenting themselves to me. I'm able to think about my story and parts of my story that I can tell them that connects to their experience. And that creates for a more meaningful connection. It creates for a more relatability, right? For them to understand where they fit into all of this. That's my strategy now when I actually go and sit down in a meeting, where it wasn't always that way. I was going in like, oh, I want to tell them this. I want to tell them this. I want to share this part about me. And that really the best way to approach building a relationship with somebody is to do it by listening to the other person.
And even in, arguments, we want to
say our.
We want to tell somebody how, like they're saying to us, and then we want to go right back, and we want to, my husband always say, you don't listen. I'm like, well, you don't listen.
Yeah.
It's just learning just to be quiet. Because if you already know the truth anyway, why even, like, okay, are you done? I heard, and honestly, just listen to what they're saying. Because when you listen, you're able to really, really kind of understand their point of view, or their point of view may not even be your point of view.
Yeah.
It might not even add up.
Yeah.
But at least be able to listen and then put yourself in their shoes to understand, like, even though I don't agree, I can still hear what she is saying. I can still hear what he is saying.
Yeah.
So let me try to have a little bit more compassion. Let me try to figure out why he's feeling this way. What can I be doing? Why is she feeling this way? What can I be doing that? So I think listening is key. A lot of us don't know how. And then when we do listen, we're listening only to
our own thoughts.
Hear something.
Respond back to what they're saying.
We're trying to lips to stop moving.
So we can say what we want to say. And
Yeah.
again, it goes back to self-mastery. It goes back to knowing yourself. If you know yourself, if you know that you're A, B, and C, always be willing to learn and change things about yourself. But if somebody's just saying crazy stuff and you're not this, you're not that, you're not this, why even argue? Why even argue? Why even go back and forth? People are going to put labels on you. Either you're going to reject it or you're going to accept it. And most of the time, unconsciously, we accept it. How do we not accept it?
And that's the self-mastery, the learning who you are, and building your own self-confidence. And it goes back to all the things we talked about, being in gratitude and and celebrating the small victories. All those things create self-confidence so that you're able to reject these labels that people give you. You know what I mean? You can be more aware of it and not say, you know what, that's not me. I don't function that way. I don't exist in that space. I don't, then you're able to propel that and repel that a lot easier.
And from that, that's when you start to develop your morality. You start to develop your core values. All of that starts to just come in just from being able to listen and hear people and understand where they fit into your life, where you fit into their life, where does the strategies lie. Just listen. And people will tell you everything you need to know just by listening. I mean, just when you're training your mind to listen, that's why audiobooks and reading are great tools. Because what you're doing is listening to someone else's understanding of how they understand the world, right? And we connected how religion and business, how all of these things are connected. Then you have an understanding, a better understanding of the world. Like, oh, this is not separate. This one is not separate from this side. They all come together, and that's create you.
I wanted to touch on two different things before we end today. One of the things I wanted to touch on was you have to know your vision. If you don't understand your vision clearly, how do you expect the consumer or the people outside to understand your vision? And a lot of people was like, well, it's whatever you want to interpret it to be. You can't give your vision. You can't allow somebody else to interpret your vision. You have to know that. It's not whatever it needs to be. It's your vision to interpret, right? You guys want to touch on that really fast? I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, and if I could just relate it more recently to the business that we've created, is that for a while, my partner and I, we would have, sometimes we'll have disagreements, but as we're building the business, was learning how to clarify that vision, right? Learning how to really hone in on what it is that we want to do and we want to create. And then along the journey, we would have people say, well, I'm confused. What do you want to do? It started, and then that started to create confusion even within our relationship as business partner. My business partner said, I don't think I know what we're doing. And I'm like, is it because you don't know what you're doing? Is it because someone else told you they don't know what you're doing? That's two different things. Once you clarify and you're very clear on your own vision, doesn't matter what anybody else is saying. Doesn't matter their opinion. You have to learn to drown out people's opinion because that's what's going to lead you astray and take you off of your path. In order to stay in the lane that you created for yourself, because that's the thing, when you have a vision or you're creating a business or you're starting something from scratch, you're carving out your own lane. it's not for anyone else to drive in that lane with you.
That's what Nipsey Hussle said.
Yeah.
Nipsey Hussle said, this is your lane.
Yeah.
It's no traffic in your lane.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
So when you stay in your lane and when you understand your vision,
Mhm.
but you have to understand that vision.
Yeah.
You can't go into something not really truly understanding what your vision is.
And clarifying your vision for me at least, it's a multitude of things, right? It's identifying your core values. What are those values that you want to create for your business, for yourself, for your brand, your life, whatever, that you won't deviate from? Because when you set up really strong core values, whenever you go astray or you kind of go off the beaten path, you can circle back to those core values, and it will always bring you back to your original vision.
It provides clarity.
It provides
Vision,
clarity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so for any business, any brand, it's identifying. So for us, it's 5 core values. We've identified those. They're very clear to us. We know what they are. So anytime we do a project or anytime we collaborate with somebody, if those 5 core values aren't at the center of that collaboration, it's not a good fit for us.
And also, that's where your purpose, your vision, and your intentions line up. And what I've always tried to explain to people, when those things, when your core, when those values is not there anymore, you're not leveling up. You're not moving because you're not in alignment. Now you're over here doing this. Now you over here doing this. Now you're doing this. Where is what you said you was going to do, which is your passion, giving back, helping others. Like if it does not align back up, if it doesn't align up, you're not going anywhere. You're going to be sitting in the same situation year after year after year, trying to figure out why isn't my business moving? Why am I not leveling up? Like, why am I still in the same situation? And that's where I think a lot of people go wrong with their vision is because it's not rooted. It's not rooted. And when it's rooted, it doesn't matter what comes.
No.
You
can
it's not going to take it's not going anywhere. It's not going to your why. And that's why I go back. Your why. Why are you doing this? What's the reason why? Once your why is rooted, it doesn't matter what comes your way. It doesn't matter.
That's the foundation you're building.
There's one small technique that you just need to do is write it down. I tell people all the time.
And put it somewhere where you can see it.
Put it somewhere because you need to be able to go back and say, okay, this is where I am. If you're just running around with the idea or the passion and you haven't taken control of it, writing things down is like taking the reins. And keeping it steady, right?
Well, it's also, the power of writing things down is that you're also putting it out there in the world. Even if it's just in your world, you're putting it out there and you're trying to hold yourself accountable to that, right? I mean, the accountability part is big, to be able to circle back to those core values. I think for us, the one core value, as we're talking about it, that sticks out in my mind is our core value to inspire action. And, inspire bold action is one of our core values. So everything we do, if it doesn't inspire people to take bold action, we don't want to put our energy into it. So whatever it is that we're creating, the campaign, it's inspiring people to take bold action.
And when you start doing things that does not inspire people to take bold action,
and you don't want,
it's not that you don't want to do it. You won't be going anywhere. You won't be going anywhere because now what your intentions and your purpose and your vision, these are not lined up. So even if you do end up doing something else, it's not going to go anywhere, because now it's not in alignment. Another thing I want to touch on is the journey. And I know you talked about, you guys' journey and, having the American dream and, having the cars, having the house and vacations and
friends.
The pretty Christmas parties and just living your best life. You're just doing the things and how everything was pretty much taken, but then how God started restoring things back to you. And one of the things I heard you say the other day, and you told me that a year ago when you first moved into your place, how a God just blessed you, how you set your vision, you figure out what you want, and you let the process do its thing by releasing it, but knowing that the vision is going to be exactly what you want it to be. How did that? I always share my stories on how somebody just came and gave me $10,000 for to fix my kitchen or to finish my kitchen, like out the blue, or how I was able to get, $60,000 from somebody who I never knew to have money.
Yeah.
How did that happen with you too?
Yeah. So when we share those experiences of our lives, it's very similar in that aspect. It's because what happens is you and I talked about it. So when we went through our financial devastation of both of us lost our jobs 3 months apart. I had been working for my company for 14 years. He worked with his for 13. We were making, the American dream income where it allowed us to buy a house when we were 25, travel, buy nice cars, Mercedes, Lexus, we lived a comfortable life, provided our kids with a life better than the life that we grew up with, both of us growing up in South LA and, my mom, being on welfare and all those things. But those things being taken away, like you said, all those things being removed from us was necessary. In God's vision, in the universe's vision, was necessary to clear everything out so that we can recenter ourselves, align ourselves, and find our true purpose, right? And once that happened, and once we started to make the decision to live the life of purpose that we came to discover, things start falling into place. Even when things seem impossible, you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't have any money to start this business. I didn't, we moved into this apartment. We finally got ourselves back on our feet, moved into an apartment.
You was looking at other apartments.
I was looking at other
apartments. Being denied.
Yeah. So we applied for like 4 or 5 other apartments, got denied because our credit was so crappy after losing our jobs that I was like, oh my God, we're never going to move into our own place. We're going to be living with my parents forever. And finally, I took a chance. This one apartment, I emailed the guy. He emails me and he goes, let's get on a phone call. So we're talking. I tell him our situation. I said, look, we have really terrible credit. You're probably not going to rent to us, but this is who we are. I think we'd be great tenants for you. He's like, okay, come check out the apartment. We did. A day later, he messaged, he goes, you got the apartment. I want you guys to be our, tenants. So that opened up the door. And then, in being there, moving there, fast forward like a year later, the same manager that gave us our apartment was the manager that became the angel investor for my business.
And he gave us,
$10,000 to get our business going.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but because you moved to that apartment,
that's how I met my business partner.
You met your business
because
partner.
Of moving to that apartment. My next door neighbor introduced us to a business. We went to the orientation, and at that orientation, my business partner was at the same orientation, and that's how we met.
And you intentionally said, I gotta get to know her.
Yeah, and when I walked into that room, it was like 40 people, and there was this tall, beautiful Korean woman, and something in my head looked around the room, and I was like, I'm gonna be her friend. Literally, that's what I said to myself, and I put the intention out there in my mind and in the world, like I'm gonna be this girl's friend. 2 months later, we went out to lunch. We found out all these things about us, and so it's just amazing.
And now you guys are doing UnleaSHE.
Yeah.
That's in Paris.
Yeah.
That's
Paris.
all over United States. That's just, I love to hear those type of stories because people always trying to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, you cannot connect the dots looking forward.
Right.
You only can connect the dots looking back.
Yeah.
And how you have a vision and how you release that vision and let the process just do its thing, but believe that vision is going to come to pass. And that's how things work. And you can't worry about things.
In all honesty, right? I mean, when we launched this campaign, now you know you need to clarify your vision. We didn't even have a clear vision at the time, right? We just knew we wanted to do this thing. But as we started to clarify the vision, things just kept moving faster and things just kept presenting itself. People kept coming into our life, opportunities and collaborations and just all these things. But it's because we started to clarify our vision even more.
You start strategizing. I always tell people, when you trying to figure something out, you can't just have it so broad. You can't just say, this is what I want to do. No, you got to break it down. And once you break it down into the little things, you start being able to it ended up just working because now it's not so huge. Yeah. Now it's to the point where now you can see things actually move. I always use an example as, I have my students who say, I want to make $100,000. Yeah. Okay. Well, when you think about $100,000, that's a lot of money, right? Yeah. But when you break it down, I'm like, okay, let's break it down. $100,000. That's $8,000 a month. Mm-hmm. That's $2,000 something a week. Yeah. That's $400 something a day working 5 days. Now that's $400 something working 5 days, but that's only 7 clients paying $75. Yeah. Now let's focus on that 7 clients.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
There you go. That's how
you're mapping it out.
That's how you have to do your strategy. Mm-hmm. Your focus got to be. Yeah. You got it because you think about the broadness of $100,000. It's overwhelming. You can just be like, okay. But if you bring it all the way down to where it's only 7 clients at $75, who can? You could do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You understand? So strategizing and breaking down and making your vision kind of narrow is so important. Yeah.
Well, breaking it down when you're mapping it out like that, and breaking it down. Now you're going into the day to day. You're not trying to say, I'm trying to accomplish this big vision, and you're breaking it down to, then that goes back to our day-to-day. It's being able to just do your day-to-day work
and knowing that it's leading you to where
your vision
go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the game, right?
And that's for everything. That's for you changing your person. Go ahead.
I mean, just when people see a business, right, like yours, and they say, you know what, I'm going to do exactly what she's doing. That's the piece they don't understand, right? Yeah, you can be emotionally attached to, I want to open a store. I want to open a salon, and I'm going to have 5 chairs, and I'm going to hire all these people, and I'm going to start making lots of money. Mm-hmm. You haven't learned the strategy, son. There's a lot of stuff in between, and I think that's sort of the failure of people when they try and get into business. You're like, there's some other things that you need to understand.
People want to be successful. They see you, they want to be successful, but they don't understand what it took for you to get to where you are, and they don't understand what you had to lose. Yeah, because being where you are, being up top, being Oprah, being whoever that person, Steve Harvey, you don't know what the journey they had. Being Shari, you don't know my journey. Yeah. House repo, car repo, divorce, an abusive relationship, current relationships not perfect. Yeah. I'm still struggling with different things. Yeah. So you don't understand the journey. You don't understand the journey. So when you ask, I want this, I want that. Okay, but also ask to go through everything I had to go through.
Can you
to get it? And can you go through it? And a lot of people can't. A lot of people will fall. A lot of people will fold. Mm-hmm. They will.
Yeah, because the strength is in overcoming those adversities, right? It's pushing through all those struggles and those challenges that life is inevitably going to throw at you. Yeah. Everybody struggles one way or another. It's how you rise to the occasion. Mm-hmm. It's what's going to set you apart from the other person. And if you're going to fold and be weak in those very tough moments, then that's where that's hard to attain success if you can't get through those tough moments.
It goes back to how deep rooted is your why. Yeah. I want to thank you guys for coming and being at the table. I know you guys are already staying at my house, but I had to get some of this stuff on tape because I think it's important for people to understand that and also hear other people besides me talk. Yeah.
I think it's important. I think for our friendship, because of like the distance and how busy our lives are, we don't really get to connect in these ways. Yeah. This weekend allowed us to do that, to even learn our stories in a deeper level, Yeah. And I think at some point we have deposit some gems, he said, into each one of us. Yeah. So I just want to thank you guys. Yeah. Thank you for watching Level Up with Shari Wilson. Until next time.
Let's level up. Level up. Community, friends, family. Level up. Your finance, your friends, and your mindset. Level up. Your health, vision, and knowledge. Level up.
Your life. Level up with Shari Wilson.